50th person dying from cancer, or every 50th child with birth defects in Iraq and Afghanistan from uranium is the blame of Sweden. The blame of Sweden, because we have a 50th part of the atomic power, and our institution, radioactivity,
Strålsäkerhetsmyndigheten.
They don't even check 1 year where 80% of our heavy uranium goes. So this is a very serious question.
Thank you, Roland.
Yeah.
What did you say about plutonium?
The waste contains 1.5% plutonium. So if we have 5,000 tons, 1.5% of that 5,000 tons is plutonium.
How much is that? How many bombs is that good for?
Oh, it's 20 kilograms for one bomb.
For plutonium, it's 3 to 5.
Yeah, it's less.
Yes, I mean, yes.
It's uranium 20, plutonium 3 to 5. I don't know how
20
efficient they
kilograms
are.
for one big bomb.
And so
Wonderful,
all
guys.
this waste we have, what would it equal in bombs?
1,000.
Oh shit.
So I will just tell what I want to do today, and you will have to think if we will do that or not, because but actually this is what we sort of agreed to do already in the press conference on Monday, and here it is. But I haven't heard these things that we wrote in press release told by you that we want to do today. So this is a bit of a clash. So what I personally wanted to get done is this. Roland. No, not now. It is.
Percentage, remember, received.
It is the question about going to the courts. Because this decision of 17th June can be made illegal, can be discredited, as there is no democratic foundation for it. And there are many other things that we can bring to the court, as it is with the case with Christopher Busby's research, where he can make it quite spectacularly described how the health of populations around the Baltic Sea is being destroyed and damaged, and how the environment has been inevitably and forever destroyed, and all these heavy destructive issues have to be brought to the court, because all other actions are sort of just projects. But this, the courts can make a difference. The really bestående, lasting difference, yeah, and that is what we have to do. And so it is even with what Gabor Tyroler was talking about, that US bombs are now falling over the northern Sweden, which is also a thing we can bring into court, because it is a very strange procedure that has been used to allow these exercises, which is hardly democratic at all. And this kind of action should have been going through the systems of referendums where people should have been involved. So my question number one today is if we could create some kind of a base of network, how we start to engage courts around the Baltic Sea into these questions.
Very good idea.
And then the next very important question that
I have questions in this first part that you said.
I will just finish now, okay? And the next question is, even you, Christopher Busby, you said about that we should approach politicians, and that has been done for years and years, and it's been going worse and worse, and there are no results. So I don't see that politicians are of much use to approach. It's a waste of time in my world. And I suggest that we even, if you want to approach politicians, please do that. But I personally would like to meet Bilderberg Group, Council of Foreign Relations representatives in Europe that have been built by some person, you know, you mentioned.
These people are never going to help us, just forget
No.
it.
Wait,
No, I
Stupid
think they are harming us. So the thing is that we should make a campaign that the people who are elected for the next government do not go to those secret meetings, because that's where the atomic energy is planned for.
Enemies so far.
Anyway, what is the name of that guy who made the European network of Council for Relations? You told him.
Urban Ahlin is a social democrat. Yes.
So, for example, Urban Ahlin, he's a social democrat who is creating Council for Relations in Europe, and we could go and talk to him and create contact with the people who really make decisions in our world, because we live in a global world.
Dita's idea is that we should go to the politicians and make them stop
Read up
going
on
to
these
secret.
people.
How are you going to
Enemies.
stop these people who give us land, who give us petroleum, who give us, do you think they're really going to go,
Anyway,
do you think they're going to go
don't get upset,
I'm not
okay?
getting
I
upset,
don't
I'm
want to get
asking, do you
upset.
really think
I
they're
just
going to
wanted
change
to
the
tell you my
entire
ideas,
system?
okay? And we will
We shouldn't overreact to politicians.
I suggest we have 10 minutes discussion on it that I will put here, okay?
So
Later
when do
on.
I get to ask the questions about the first part? You wanted to bring up a new part, so I couldn't ask the questions about the first part.
Please ask a question about the first part.
And everybody still remember what the first part was?
Yeah, it was about the courts.
So do you have contact with lawyers that will do this for free, or are we going to raise money first and then contact somebody? And I know for a fact that the environmental lawyers that will do this stuff is very difficult to find.
I have 5 lawyers.
Well, I can say a
I
bit
know
about
about 4 or 5 of them, but I don't know that they want to do this.
that. I can say a bit about that. But actually, you don't need an awful lot. I mean, in my little talk in a minute, I shall say a few things about the legal side. But there are legal routes that don't cost an awful lot of money, and there are precedents. There was a woman in Spain, for example, who was affected, or believed she was affected by some pollution that came from a factory, and she took a court case in the local court herself, and you can do this in England, but I don't know about Sweden. But there are ways in which you can take a case as an individual, and of course she lost the case. But the point about EU law is that if you lose the case in the country, you can take it to the European Court. And she took it to the European Court and won, and they shut the factory. So these things can happen. It's not necessarily so that these things are impossible. I think we have to kind of believe in ourselves a bit more, and not believe that these people are so important or powerful or dangerous or hostile that there's no point in addressing them. And it may turn out that that is the case, but at least one should, perhaps if one has the energy, try to do this. If anyone can be bothered or can find out who the people
But
are.
this is not a job for this whole group. This is a job for Dita and you. If you have such ideas and contacts and ambitions, this is not something this group can do.
It may be, because it's not a group. We're talking about networks.
Well, you don't have a monopoly on this discussion here, so I'm going to say whatever I want to say.
No, I'm not saying you don't have to, Per. Well, I'm saying you can say what you like, but then I'm just responding
Don't
to this.
waste
and
the whole group's time with this.
each person in the group is separate. This is a networking group, and they're different people. And so one person here might decide that they are able to do something. Another person like you might think there's no point in it and it's stupid. But we all have different ways of doing these things, and we all have the same objective.
So do them. You don't have to bring it before the whole group.
I think that if we didn't bring them before
Do you
the
need
whole
our help in
group,
any way? Do you
Well,
want us to raise money?
I would like to hear what Chris has to say about his ideas.
Anyway, when I come to talk about it, then perhaps I can talk about it without any interruptions. Do you think that might be all right?
Yeah, do you think I can ask the questions?
Of course
when
you
we're
can, when
discussing
I'm
something
finished.
Instead of Dita running the whole discussion?
I think she's the moderator, Per, that's all. Somebody has to be the moderator, and it's very hard work. And I mean, she's completely shattered by moderating all this stuff. And I think we're all a bit tired.
Bilderbergs and Foreign Relations Council in America are certainly not people that we need to concern ourselves with. If some of you want to approach them, that's fine.
Anyway, we just want
Okay.
to hear your opinion, and
No,
most importantly, I hope that we can have
But
a
that's
very...
fine.
Well, we've heard it now.
Most importantly, I hope we can have a very nice spirit in these meetings.
Not if you don't allow me to ask questions when you present ideas to the group.
It is really great if people can have nice time. And that is my main priority, that we would have nice time together. Because it is very hard work we're doing, and I hope we can give love and understanding and peace and support to each other. And whatever limitations we have, it's very important that we keep good energies on. And so, not to upset anybody, so those heavy questions that I raised will take 10 minutes of your time, and I will put a limit there, 5 minutes for lawyer and court questions, 5 minutes for discussing. But anyway, time is running away, and just if we do these things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we need 15 minutes for them. So let's get started. But we will do that a bit later. We will give priority to Chris because Sigyn is leaving soon, and then we will have this brainstorming about networking for half an hour, and then we do these presentations that we have put on the table. What about that? Do you like the plan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a suggestion. I didn't properly understand what is going on now, but you wanted to have to tell that you will tell more about the what you were willing
No,
to
I
tell
don't
us.
want to tell anymore
Okay.
anything, sort of.
Okay.
I want to have 5-minute discussion about how we fix courts and 5-minute discussions about it,
Yeah.
how we approach the big pyramidal tops.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I heard that there were people who wanted to hear those things, so maybe I suggest that we will hear or have a discussion about that
Yeah.
because it's.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's more educating. Yeah.
Many people wouldn't like to hear maybe some of those other things either, sort of, but let's not be aggressive, okay? Let's have a nice and respectful time. And would you like to have a break somewhere in the middle after Chris, 5 minutes? Or shall we have these 3 hours non-stop?
No, if you make a little break, you get some context.
Okay, then Chris, you're on. And Sigyn, you can make your questions to Chris. And so you can take 10 minutes too.
I don't suppose I think 10 minutes. But so just shut me up because I tend to ramble.
And after that we take break,
Yeah.
5 minutes.
All right. There are some things that we can do. The way I see a network is that we all have the same ultimate objective, which is closing down nuclear power. But everybody does it in a different way. Everyone has their own idea on how to do it. And I don't think it should be a group thing. I think it should be an individual thing, or some members of the group do one thing and some members do other things. And people do what they do best. So some people are good at some things and some people are good at other things. Some people have this strategy, some people have that strategy. Now, here's some things that we can do. You may have noticed that I have managed to get an enormous amount of publicity for a study in Fallujah in Iraq. I've been on all the major networks and in all the newspapers and so on. And this puts massive pressure on the military to stop using depleted uranium. And if you like, it was a very, very powerful thing that happened. And the reason it happened was because we actually produced some news. Now, it's not news to say we are opposed to nuclear power. It's not news to say we think that the decision taken by the Swedish Parliament is illegal, because nobody gives a damn about what we think, you know. Like that bloke who was here yesterday, the physicist, said, they all think we're mad. Yeah? They all think we're mad, so they don't care what we think. So unless we make some news, unless we put a spanner on a nut and we turn the nut, unless we chain ourselves not just to the railings in some park, but to the nuclear power station itself so they can't come in and out, nothing will happen. We will just continue to have meetings like this, we will have a network, we will put stuff on the internet, and they will all sit about laughing and thinking that we're mad. Okay. So what we have to do is something that they will listen to, and one of these things is to produce a peer-reviewed study of cancer, because everybody's frightened of cancer, around the Baltic Sea. Now this takes money because we have to take time to do this, and we have to make measurements and so forth. But actually, we almost got money from the EU, because the EU has a huge amount of money for this kind of research. So much money you cannot imagine. Billions of euros are available for this sort of research. But how do you get it? How do you get it? Well, we can get it because some of the small countries around the Baltic Sea, like Latvia, Lithuania, countries Estonia, that don't have any buy-in to nuclear power, very strong buy-in to nuclear power, are all poor. They don't have any money, they're all starving. And the scientists don't have any jobs. So they want the EU money very much. So Ditta and I managed to get some partners to do a study of the Baltic Sea. But in order to have partners, you have to have a number of different partners around the Baltic to get this money. It's an interreg funding situation. So we tried to get funding through partnership in Sweden at the Karolinska Institute through a colleague of mine. But in the end, we couldn't get enough money to fund it from the Karolinska end. It wasn't very much money. It's 20,000 euros we needed to fund it from the Karolinska Institute. And the money that we get for the project was about 600,000 euros from the EU. So one way of getting this is to find money. So we need people with money who can, not a huge amount, but money that can put in towards this as a deposit. We also need partners. Much more important, we need partners. If you can have a partner in of the member state countries, like in Sweden, for instance, it can be a community council. So a little community that lives near the sea is able to be a partner in an Interreg grant application for a study of the Baltic Sea. Or it could be an institution like your wind power institution. If it's a semi-public body, or if it's funded by the state in any way, it can be a partner in a study of the effects of radiation in the Baltic Sea. So I'd like each of you, from all your various countries around the Baltic Sea, to think about anybody who could become a partner, or who might want to become a partner in an application to the EU for a large amount of money to do this study. Because even the application scares them to death. We went to Helsinki and we talked to the Cancer Registry in Helsinki, and they immediately, all sorts of things changed because they knew that we were after this money, and we went to talk to the EU about getting this money, and they all get on the telephone to each other.
5 minutes have gone.
And they're all terrified. So that's all right, 5 minutes. I'll give you 2 minutes more because that's the end of that one. All right, that's number one. Number one, we need money. We need partners around the Baltic Sea. Okay, one.
Universities. Communities.
Yeah, universities, communities, anything that's a public body. Private bodies are no good. The EU will not allow a private body to fund this sort of research. It has to be somebody who is a public body or some sort of funded
Actually, it could probably be zero.
Zero could probably do it. Okay. Or a community near the Baltic Sea that's worried about radiation, something like that. Now the second thing is about court cases. Now, I think that this is a very important way forward. I think this decision could be questioned in the courts, but I don't know enough about Swedish law, and I think I'm calling this Ditta's legal network. And I wrote this before she said anything about her law cases. So we need individuals in the countries to research the law with regard to taking court cases to stop nuclear expansion. And there are such laws. These laws exist. There's absolutely certainly. I've been in Austria talking to lawyers about this. There are lots of international law relating to nuclear pollution and people who are afraid of being contaminated or who are contaminated. So that's it. That's my little pitch. This is something that we can do, and this could make a very, very big impact. The law and the peer review studies. Because the peer review study in Fallujah has made an enormous impact. And a peer review study, even to say we're going to do a peer review study, and to start to get money and to have a big organisation as a partner, even the news that is the case can be given to the media, and that will scare them to death. Thank you.
But you had questions, Sigyn, yeah? Sigyn has to go away, so she has given priority
I
now.
want to say first of all that I'm happy that I came here because I have learned a lot, and I think this with the Baltic Sea sounds like a great project. But then back to the other study about Fallujah, I think it has had really big impact, and we are trying to get it to have impact in Sweden. It's an environmental question for all of you also here, and it's a question of war crimes. The attacks on Fallujah, the depleted uranium, all war crimes. We put the question to the parties in Sweden we have elections in September, and the red-green parties have answered that they want to be in support of independent international investigations between the relations, the connections that might be between depleted uranium and the effects, the birth defects and everything in Fallujah. So, have you any suggestions how we should do this? We have got this written, we have made press releases, we have gone to media to tell them, to pressure the parties to do something and follow up what they have promised. Have you any suggestion what to do, or have you on this very concrete question that could also break through with this that we want depleted uranium to be prohibited?
Well, the problem
with Fallujah is one of the examples.
The problem with asking the international community to do it is they will send in the United Nations Environment Programme, the WHO, the World Health Organization, and these people cannot be trusted. That's the problem. They're controlled by the United Nations and they're controlled by the Americans. So anything that they find will be rubbish. So the only way to deal with this is to do what we did, is to go in and do it ourselves. And that means nothing but money. Now we have a plan. We are already taking hair samples, biological samples from the parents of children, and these are going to be analysed. But there's a lot. It costs a lot of money to analyse these samples, and we have to find a laboratory where we can send which we can trust, basically. But we have got such a laboratory, so it's just a question of finding the money to do the analysis, and of course smuggling the hair samples out. But that's happening now. So that's just, again, this all comes back to money. Not a huge amount of money on a cosmic scale compared to the kind of money that the EU spends on research. But when it comes to ordinary people, it's a lot of money. So we need some rich people. So anybody who knows any rich people who want to help. No, don't laugh. I know rich people and they have help. I mean, we had a conference last year, somebody gave us $50,000. So there are such people. And so Ditter's idea of going to the Bilderbergers or whatever, you know, is not so mad, because those people are very rich. And on a whim sometimes, for no reason at all, they might think, oh right, and they might give you a vast amount of money. So it's always worth trying. We need some Swedish rich people. Okay? So we should have a Swedish
Baltic Sea region rich people.
We should have a Swedish rich people...
German,
network.
Polish,
all right, okay.
Finnish,
well then this would be a good thing to have in a
Danish.
network. A network would be very valuable to have a networking group that looks for rich people. And was nice to look.
But that doesn't just have to be Baltic Sea people. Like
absolutely. New Zealand.
No, I mean when you talk about these rich people, because I know I worked for someone who's in Spain who knows people who goes to Bilderberg meetings. He played with some of the richest people in Europe, and so. When saying about their enemies, they're just other people who are in this bad system. So there is possibilities, and so
they're the ones that plan the next war. Every time they have a meeting, they plan the next war.
Yeah.
Why do you think they're going to help us?
Yes, because we have this displayed an instrument which shows that their children will die if they don't change the behavior.
We can change them with love, and Mr. Rabbit here looks like an extremely loving person. I can imagine him getting some money out of it.
You can't give up on them. It's just like you didn't give up on the people who are addicted to heroin. They're just victims of the system.
Exactly. That's the main point. point,
everybody
Mr.
is a
Rabbit.
victim of the
Even
system.
them are the victim of the system. They have been born into the system, and now we will change the system.
Yeah.
And unite in love.
And Per is right, some of them are bastards and they're beyond hope. But not all of them.
No, exactly. There is.
Okay, that's it.
Thanks so much.
Everything needs anyhow.
Oh yeah.
Whether you turn to politicians or who it is, you need some pressure from beneath. And I think both when it comes to this, the poisoning of the Baltic Sea or Fallujah, you have to reach out to the public opinion. And then, of course, your study has done a lot to help, and that we can use all these materials to spread. But even with the Baltic Sea, because I mean, I don't have all the knowledge that some of you have about the Baltic Sea, so I can speak just like anyone from the street. Yesterday, for instance, I can tell many things that were said yesterday. I didn't understand everything.
Anyway, we have to finish now. We have very
yeah.
limited time.
So I think you have to also to address the common public to understand it. And
Okay, we go on now. 5 minutes break, yeah? That's what we agreed.
Yes.
5 minutes break, but it's really 5 minutes. So it's 7 before 5. We start again, sharp, because we have to be out of here at 6 o'clock.